which is your Uncle Clyde's dead wife now. Her and Dink was, there was 2 or 3 of us anyway. We all went to a fortune teller. And they started telling them stuff, and I don't know, some of the stuff hit. Some of it hit. And when they got to me, they told me that I was a twin. And right then and there I knew she was lying because there was nobody else but me. And so some other stuff, I don't know what all it was, but anyway, Gladys was going to die on the train in L.A. And
who's Gladys?
Huh?
Who's Gladys?
Gladys is my sister-in-law, Toots.
Toots' sister?
Yeah.
Sister.
Okay.
There was Gladys, Toots, and Dink. Dink is Virginia, I think. No, Virginia's Toots. I don't remember now. Anyway, the one girl, Gladys, was going to die on a train, and she did. And there were some other things that was told, but I don't remember them now, that were true. So when it was all over with, why, I asked Clyde about the twin bit, and he wouldn't answer me. He said, "You ask Mom." He acted like he knew, but he wouldn't answer me. And so I got Mom cornered one day and asked her. And she said, yes, there was. And I don't remember now what all we didn't talk a lot about it. But it was born dead. And so I assumed that part of it was again true, just like Gladys' death. And but it had never apparently ever been mentioned before.
Was it a boy or a girl?
I don't even remember that.
Wow, I didn't know
I
that.
don't even remember that. But I don't know what difference that would make anyway. Nobody knew it. Nobody saw it.
Well, genetically, that means there's twins in the family. I mean, I didn't.
No, there was.
Well, yeah, the possibility.
So apparently he died at birth, or what?
Yeah.
Well, let's hope not, because we've got enough girls and stuff running around here now.
How much did you weigh when you were born?
I don't have any idea. I don't have any idea.
Where is your birth certificate?
I don't have any idea.
On that it should say.
It, come to think of it, it's in there somewhere.
Do you have your birth certificate?
I've got a,
He's got a late one.
it's a makeshift one. Some the delayed birth certificate or something. And maybe we should try to find that.
You wouldn't find it now. Should probably be, you wouldn't know where it's at. Probably even
I
on
could
the,
find it now,
it
faster than I
could
could
be on
find it
the
next week.
credit union.
Huh?
In the credit union with the rest of the papers.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think. No, that maybe that's my pilot's license. Or did I give you that pilot's license?
Yeah, those yeah, that was in those papers
Oh.
you gave me, I think.
Okay. Then
It was your
birth
student
certificate
license.
is probably in the credit union.
Student license or a pilot license?
Student license.
When you were in the Army?
No, after I got out.
You took flying lessons?
Oh, I've flown all over Tooele here, having fun. I stayed with it for a while, but I couldn't see any percentage in it. I had no ambition to become a commercial pilot, which in a way was now stupid on my part, because I make plenty of money. But I flew there for a while. The Eddy brothers down in Grantsville, Garth and Joe Eddy, had a field down there. And I flew a little Cub and a Cessna and 3 different planes. But,
Recap for a minute. You were born in Fairfax,
yeah,
right? And then from there, you lived there until you were, what, 13?
till 13 or 14, I'm not sure. One or the other. We left there in 34, 35, 36, somewhere. Because we went from there to Montrose, Colorado.
Okay, go back to Fairfax for a minute. Did you live at your grandparents' house, or did you live in your
I
own
lived
house?
in my own farm.
And they had a farm too?
No, they lived on our farm.
Oh.
We owned
And what grandparents is that? Your dad's
my
dad?
mother's dad.
Your
and
mother's
mother,
Okay.
the McCutcheons. We owned in the history of two other Fairfax, we owned 2 different farms. We also lived in town a number of places. So I don't know how to put the years. I don't know whether to put the egg before the chicken or where. But we owned 2 farms. And on the one, we had my grandpa and grandma, my mom's dad and mother. They lived there. One of my mom's sister, Viola, the deaf one, her and Joe, the deaf mute,
Right.
they and their family lived on the farm too. We built some places and they lived there. So there were 3 families of us. On the other farm, it was, I don't remember whether Zeke and Marguerite, I don't know whether they were married on the other farm or not. I'm not clear there. But Clyde and Toots got married when we lived on the other farm. And they lived on there for a while.
Now, did McCutcheons live with you then?
The McCutcheons, not out there, no.
Not there. Where were Ellsworth, Grandma and Grandpa?
Dead, as far as I know.
When you lived in Fairfax?
Yeah.
Well, then where did they live? 'Cause
Where
you
did who live?
Did you not know Ellsworth, Grandma and Grandpa?
No, I never did know.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Well, I told you that the
The
That's
other
first
day.
time I talked to you, I
Okay.
told you that.
So Guthrie was where they
Probably a
lived?
good thing we are doing this.
Yeah.
That's why I figured.
Guthrie is where they lived, and that's
Well,
that
that's
picture?
one of them.
Okay.
That's one of them. I don't know where else they might have lived. It seemed like to me Caw City or something. I don't know. And Jim, Kansas. There's 2 or 3 of these names in there. Can't you get your genealogy out? Don't that kind of take you back to some of these places?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'm not sure they're, as far as the Ellsworth is concerned, I know nothing.
Well,
Now,
they-
when it comes to McCutcheons, seeing the McCutcheons, my mom and them all started in Arkansas. They started in Arkansas. That's where Donnelly is?
Right.
Okay. That's where they all were at one time. Viola, Edna, Donnelly's mother, their mother and dad, my grandpa and grandma, they were all living right there.
Yeah, and he said that during the Depression, they were so poor that they were tenant farmers on somebody else's farm.
Well,
Sharecropper?
Yeah, and then they got paid 25 cents a week to be tenants of that farm. And that what he told me, remember the story you told about
Who's he?
popcorn balls?
Who's he?
He's a
Popcorn.
cousin. He's Dad's first cousin. Not Marguerite, Grandma.
whoop, whoop. Now, what are you saying?
Ethel's your mother.
Yeah.
Okay, Dawn's mother's name's what?
Edna.
Edna. Okay, Edna and Ethel were sisters.
Yeah.
Dawn is Daddy's age or close to it, and he's a first son also. And they lived
Of Edna.
of Edna.
In fact,
and,
he's an only son.
yeah, and they all lived right there. So he had real good recollection of what happened to the McCutcheons.
So he still lives there?
Yeah, he still lives there. What
Yeah,
happened to the McCutcheons?
He's pretty well off. He's
Very well off. He's
he's,
a millionaire.
owns I don't know how many car lots,
Oh, he's
And,
still alive?
Oh yeah.
and the only liquor store in quite a
3 or 4 counties.
quite a few counties and everything else.
Where is it leaving?
He lives in Berryville, Arkansas.
Burville.
Berryville, that's right.
But
So they
well, I
live-
don't remember them. I don't remember them being sharecroppers. Now that all I know is they lived on a farm in Arkansas, and we used to go over there every year and help put up. We'd cut up the watermelons and put up watermelon preserves. We used to cut something, cane or something, to make molasses and all this. We used to put up a lot of food. Can a lot of food. We'd can meats and everything. And then go back to, but we lived then in Fairfax, but we'd go back to there. I remember going over there at least a couple of times. But
So did you go back and forth by horse and buggy?
I don't know.
Well, you had probably.
No, I think we had cars.
Cars.
We had Model Ts, Model A's, and then we finally got up Big Shot and had a Roadmaster Buick. In fact, I think we drove a Roadmaster Buick from from Oklahoma to Colorado.
So when Grandpa was in Colorado, he was a farmer
Yeah.
and a carpenter?
Well, no, he wasn't a farmer. No, he was a carpenter. Carpenter, builder. He's like me. He could do anything. He'd build a fireplace, build a home, do whatever had to be done.
Okay, one time you told me that he invented the
He packed
grain,
shed, he did.
the grain harvester, the
No,
gleaner. What was it?
pea packing shed on wheels in Lahara, Colorado,
And so what
down
was
in her territory.
it'd go through? It was a pea harvester.
Yeah, well, pea packing shed until the Ellsworths got there. And when I say Ellsworth, that's my dad, Floyd, and I. I don't remember why. We must have went over there to get work or something. And anyway, we got over there. We were working for this farmer,
How old were you?
a little bitty thing.
Probably 13, 14.
Oh, no.
Well, you said you'd already left Oklahoma.
Oh, wait a minute. Well, I guess maybe I was, yeah. Yeah, I guess I was.
Okay.
13, 14. And anyway, we worked for a big farmer there. And the way they'd go out in the field, pick the peas, and then haul them in a truck or something, I don't know, do something, haul them all the way downtown, and then go through a gyration of boxing them up and everything. So my dad saw a 4-wheel trailer sitting there in the yard one day, and he told the boss, he said, hey, why don't we just build you a shed to where you can modernize this pea picking a little. So Helmer's something. Anyway, he gave him go ahead. So we built a pea packing shed on wheels. We had slots, one on each side, that the pickers would go along, and the tractor would just go right along with them. And as the pickers, rather than hand a hamper in, put it into a bag or something, they just dumped it in that slot. They'd come down, they had people on the wagon filling the hampers all up to the top. And then set aside, had a truck backing up with the trailer. And then just slide that stuff right on the truck and just keep it moving.
And it was just shelled them, took them out of the pods?
No, they're still in the pods. They're being put in baskets in the pods. And then when that truck got full, that truck would pull out and another back up. The little clee track they had, they're pulling the little trailer with a little clee track, a little small Caterpillar. and they just kept going, and the pickers were on both sides, just picking away and dumping, picking away and dumping.
And so, what was the machine doing?
The machine.
What was
it
the-
wasn't a machine.
Okay, what was
it was
the
a
shed?
trailer.
Okay, what was its purpose? Just putting them in the bushels?
I thought I just told you.
Well,
Yeah.
you did, but what labor was it saving them? Just putting them in even bushels,
Well,
or cleaning the
not
stuff?
so much. Yeah, I was saving them there, but before they didn't have anything. They just dumped the peas into a trailer or truck or something. I don't know. I'm not sure how they did it. They dumped it in there, and then because they only had certain things to pick them in, and so I don't know. Then they had to take them down to the tracks. I think they had to take them down to the tracks to refinish them and box them and everything down the tracks. And
So that was done all on the trailer, you're saying? The
that
package.
this was all done on the trailer.
So when they left the farm, they were packaged
Right
and
in
ready
the
to
But they
sell.
were ready to go.
Saved them
Actually,
a whole step.
the
They
only
could go
thing
right
had
to the
to do-
railroad,
The only thing they had to do at the tracks
ice them.
is face them. When I say face them, they put a row of beans fancy around the top before they put the lid on. And so they were finished product. But before that, they had to pour them in. I guess they just poured them into a truck or something, and then when they got done, they had to box them, package them, or whatever the hell that is.
So that was someplace. Where were you living when you did that?
Lahara, Colorado.
And that was on your way up when you kept moving up.
No, that was on the way back. That's down by, you know where Alamosa, you ever heard of Alamosa, Colorado?
Yeah.
All right, you turn and go, I started to say south. I don't know, it's south or west. Where's Lahara? West or south of Alamosa?
It's the northern part of Colorado.
Huh?
Lahara is the northern part of Colorado. It's almost on the New
Can't be
Mexico.
in the northern
It's
part.
almost on the New Mexico borderline.
Right, New Mexico.
That's
Yeah.
south.
Northern New
That's
Mexico.
That's southwest.
West.
Southwest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well that's where it's at. That's where it was.
Okay, so when you left Fairfax,
Yeah.
and you went where then?
Montrose.
And what did you do in Montrose?
My dad built fireplaces. He ran a service station, and I went to school for at least a year. That's where I got all my smarts.
Was that 8th grade?
I think.
Where was it? You told me once that you won a state championship as a wrestler.
That was in Fairfax.
That was in Oklahoma.
That was when I was a 105-pound champ, and I whipped the butt off the 135-pound champ.
Okay, but that was 8th grade.
No.
Well,
that
no,
was,
no, that was under that.
That was seventh or under.
Yeah, it was. I would have been the 6th or 7th.
They just school wrestling then.
That's what I say. A lot of this now don't sound right.
Well, yeah, it does because kids did.
No, I
things-
don't, because not that young. How many young kids you got down in wrestling
Cecil, look.
at that age?
I know, but it
No.
was different then because by 16 and
Well,
17.
I know, but that's where it's making it hard for me to
remember.
understand when I tell this.
Yeah.
Cecil, Dean's boy, Jody, has been wrestling with the school kids and see what's what.
Dean's Joey is a hell of a lot older than 5 or 6 or 7 or 8
Yeah,
too.
now, but what I mean when he started.
Well,
So when you
Yeah.
went to Montrose, you were just doing odd jobs, carpentry stuff. Grandpa was.
well, I wasn't doing anything. I
Right,
was just a
he
kid.
was.
I did farming. Finally went to work for a farmer, and I worked for board and room and $7.25, I think, a month. Working 24-hour shifts. When in the summertime
In Montrose,
in
right
Montrose.
around there.
Well, Montrose. When I say Montrose, 5 miles out there's a place called Oak Grove, and that's where we were. And
So did everybody live like that for board and room?
well, no, just me.
Just you.
Mom and him had a place, like I said, they'd run the service station. I'm kind of like this guy that you see him, maybe you don't see him on television, trying to get over the AT&T bill. He tries to explain it.
Yeah.
These people interfere with him.
Okay, go
Yeah,
on.
you're getting to me there pretty quick. Am I not coming clear?
You never mentioned the gas station before. When was that?
I probably have. You just haven't remembered it.
Okay.
Because that seemed like to me, I've talked about it every time I've talked. But it was a gas station. We had a gas station right across the street from the school. The school was right across the street. Did I ever tell you about the time I got drunk and almost died with ptomaine poison off of wine?
No.
Well, we was having a school dance. And see, here again, 12 or 13, 14 in there. But we did get some cheap wine. And oh, I thought I was going to die. I know Mom was patting me on the back up and down. But that was just, the school was right across the street from where we lived and where the service station was. But I was the only one that did the farming. I worked for that guy for I don't know how long. Then I went to work for some Swedes. We had some Swedes. Boy, they liked to work me to death until I got in shape. And then once I got in shape, I almost worked them to death. There was 3 boys and a dad and a mother. And they were potato and onion farmers. Mostly potatoes. So I got tied up with them. I don't know how, but I did. So we worked there for a few days. Finally, the old man apparently liked the way I worked. So he says, why don't we start a contest? Pearlie was his youngest boy's name. He said he wants to tie up with you, and he wants you to run against the 2 big brothers. And I didn't think that was funny.
To do what? Pick potatoes?
Pick potatoes. Sacking potatoes. Had a pal go along and we go along and picking them babies up and putting them in the bags. And I didn't think that was funny because here's old farmers been doing this all their life. And they were tough. And you could tell it by the way they fed you. When you ate at their house, you ate. Man, they'd have 5 or 6 different kind of pies and cakes, and big hunks of pork and beef. And they had more food on that table than a lot of these restaurants here do. But anyway, tied up with them. And we started contesting. And pretty soon old Pearlie and I, we were the best potato pickers in the whole valley. We got good. But we just coordinated. But that was that's the only 2 farmers I remember working for. But I did the farming, and Mom and them ran the little service station, and there was we sold a few groceries and stuff. I don't know what. It wasn't too very big, but a small 7-Eleven.
So how long were you in Montrose then?
I don't really know that. Couldn't have been too long. Because from Montrose, we went to Estes, I guess. And in Estes, see, all this has to be, well, figured out. 22, 32, I'd be 10, 33, 34, 35, 36, 35 or 36, we left there. Okay, so
That'd make you how old?
14.
14. And I was 14 when I was in going to school in
Montrose?
Oak Grove.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. So then we must have left shortly after that and went to Estes. And my dad, Clyde, my brother, and Zeke, and a whole bunch of them were working for the Bureau of Reclamation, building a dam up there and everything, and a bunch of homes. And I worked for the bowling alley there in town, Lee Barty's bowling alley, at the Penn Center. Then I worked for the Chalet Dude Ranch outside of Estes, and had a lot of fun out there because in the summertime a lot of the college kids would come up and work at the hotels, and we partied a lot. We had a lot of fun. But that, like I said, so somewhere in between 14 and 17, I was in Estes and Loveland. Estes and Loveland. Because when I was 17, I went in the Army.
Well, when you were in Estes, was Estes a resort place then, or was it just a regular
Oh, that's
town?
all it is. It's all it
Just
is
always
then and
been
now.
Just a resort.
That's all it is. It's just in the wintertime, I don't know what it is today,
It's-
but then in the wintertime, population was about 1,000 people. But in the summertime, it's 500,000. So, and I assume it's still the same thing.
Tell me again the story about how they wouldn't let you in the Army.
Well,
You
They-
tried to enlist.
I was in the Army. Technically, I was in the National Guard. Otis and I both. Otis Case and I both was in the National Guard.
Okay, wait a minute. When you were in Estes Park, was Otis there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember Otis?
Otis lived with us.
I know, but
Yeah. Otis is Toots's brother, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he was in Estes Park working with you,
Yeah.
and you guys joined the
National
military?
Guard.
what was the story? I mean about the banana splits and all that.
I'm
That's
coming to that.
oh.
I'll have to come to that. He and I both joined the National Guards. In fact, there's a bunch of us. A guy by the name of Raymond, I don't know, I forget all their names. But there was a number of us joined the National Guard. And that was down in Loveland. And so finally in 1940, old Uncle Sam was getting a little nervous. They pretty well figured that they were going to wind up in fighting the Germans. That was in 1940. So they mobilized. They took all their National Guards and turned them into real soldiers. So in order to do that, each man had to take another examination. Now, to get in the National Guard, you didn't have to be too healthy. But to go in the regular Army, you had to be in pretty good condition. So when they examined me, I was exactly 8 pounds underweight to have a standard to go by. So many inches high, so much weight. And for a 6'1.5" inch person, the minimum was 145 pounds. I only weighed 137. So the major was going to kick me out. And that's when my captain, Captain Conway, he was a highway patrolman. He was our captain in the National Guard. He told me, he said, go home, drink all the milk you can hold, and in between the drinking of the milk, shove a banana or two in there. And come back and I'll get you another examination at 2 o'clock. Well, I don't know how I did it, but in that 3 hours I was gone, I put on exactly 8 pounds. And if he had stuck a needle in me, a pen, I would have had that 8 pounds all over the field. Because it was nothing but milk and bananas. So Captain Conway kept his word. He got the major about half drunk. Got him about half drunk. So when he would give me the examination, he might be a little easier. But apparently it didn't get him drunk enough, because when it was all over with, the major turned to Conway and he said, "You know, Captain," he says, "I can't pass him. You and I both know in the morning he's going to be back down to 137. And so the fight went on and I got kicked out. Well, just like Otis. They kicked Otis out because he had false teeth.
He was a kid and he had false teeth?
Well, he wasn't a kid. He was older than I am. Otis was quite a bit older than I was, but he was still had false teeth. Well, I don't know. I don't know that he had all false teeth. He had some. But anyway, then it was going to be a certain period of time before we actually left Loveland, the Army. So Conway told me to go up to the drugstore and drink these malts and banana splits. Drink and eat all I could every day. Just sit there and do nothing but eat and drink, eat and drink. He would pay for it. And so I started doing that. But then about that time, everybody was disgusted. Otis was disgusted. Clyde didn't like it. Nathan was another friend of ours, and my dad. So we all decided to go to California.
Nobody could get in? They wouldn't let anybody in?
And where?
Into the Army?
Oh, well, they let some of them in, but
None of your family?
none of us. Well, I was the only one in the family. Otis and some of the others were just friends. They wasn't really family.
Oh, they got disgusted with Colorado?
With Colorado, and so I decided to go to California to try getting some work, and so that's what we did.
Did you leave Grandma in Estes Park, or did she go to California too?
No, we left her in Loveland, not Estes, Loveland, and we left them all. Just the 5 of us went to California.
Grandpa, you.
My dad, my brother Clyde, me, Otis, and Nathan.
And who was Nathan?
He was one of my cousin's boyfriend or husband, I'm not sure. Stella Faye's. Stella Faye, my Aunt Ethel's,
She was a sister, wasn't
not
she?
Ethel.
Wasn't
Ethel
Stella?
was my mom.
Wasn't Stella
Edna?
Faye Ethel's sister?
No. Nellie was Stella Faye's mother. And Nellie was my mom's sister.
So then she was your cousin.
Yeah. But then we went to California. And
To
went
where?
to work.
To where in California?
San Diego.
That's when you got in that big brawl.
Huh?
That's when you got in that big fight in San Diego.
Big fight.
Yeah, you said that you guys all got drunk one night and Grandpa.
Oh, well, wait a minute. I gotta clear my talking pipes. Wait a minute.
Oh, I know he wouldn't.
Well, I don't know. He thought it was kind of funny later.
Yeah, but he sure never acted like that kind of a person when I knew him.
Oh, well, he wasn't. That's the first time. In fact, I think that's the only time I ever saw my father drunk. The only time. But I knew he drank. Because when I was real little, they used to party all the time. But I don't think I've ever seen him drunk. With that one exception. And that 3 beers. 3 beers.
Well, then he didn't drink much.
But we went down to we'd gone to a movie. We'd gone to a movie, and we came.
How old is she?
8.
8, is she? Well, she was about 6 when I wanted to kill her. So she's gonna be a mean little shit. One night, they were out here. I went in after they'd left. I went in to do something. I was gonna flush the toilet or something, and it wouldn't flush. Either that or it was running or something. And anyway, I opened up the water tank, and she had one of those wicker ducks stuck in that pond, I guess, and bars of soap.
Is this here at the house or at her place?
Right here. Bars of soap and I don't know what all.
Oh my
And
God.
I thought, but if she's here, I'll pull her head off. I guess she figured that was a duck and that was a pond. Put it on it.
That's pretty inventive, actually.
Oh, I wanted to kill her. But anyway.
Okay, you're in San Diego, looking for work.
Well, by this time, we all had jobs. I know one time, when we first got there, 3 of us, no, 4 of us, well, I'm not sure. Maybe all 5 of us got a job with a contractor building homes. And we lasted 1 day. The young kid that ran the job, it was the owner's son. He was supposed to be married, only 21 years old. And he was an idiot, educated idiot. But he was afraid of my dad. He was afraid my dad knew too much. So he wanted to get rid of him. So he told the foreman to fire my dad. And so the foreman came along and fired us all. And he says, I assume, he says, I really don't want to fire any of you. But he said, I was told to fire you. And he said, the reason I'm firing you guys, we assume that you'll quit because I have to fire the old man. And I don't remember now whether we quit or if it just Dad quit. But anyway, before it was all over, make a long story short, before it was over with, a few months later, Dad did take the kid's job. And the dad of that kid put him down at the depot. He was I don't know what do you call him, some kind of a baggage handler down at the depot. And my dad did run the company for quite a while, and it was kind of comical. But anyway, we were all working at this point. Like I said, we'd been to theater, and came back and we were all hungry, so went down to this little cafe and bar down on the corner there. And so we sat there eating sandwiches, and Clyde and I and Otis, and I guess and even Nathan, all was drinking beer. So we talked Dad into having one.
Was he religious at this point, or he just never drank?
No, he was religious. He's been religious all of his life.
Yeah.
But he decided, well, maybe a beer ain't going to hurt anybody with food. And so before it was over with, anyway, he had 3 beers. And apparently we had more than that. So we was kind of ready to go party. So we wanted to go over to a regular beer joint. And in this place, boy, there was a bunch of Marines and everything else. And so we got in there and got talking. Otis got talking to some Marine and asked him if he knew where we could get some booze. And this guy said, well, give me some money. He said, I can go get some. Go get some for you. So Otis gave him money. He went and got the booze. But when he came back, he ignored us. He went over and sat over with his buddies. And so Otis went over and asked him, said, hey, what'd you do with our booze? Oh, he said, I haven't got any of your booze. So Otis has been in too many fights to know you just don't wise off when you've got the odds against you. So he came back over to the car, or back over to the table, and this is where we knew my dad was pretty well lit. He just says, well, come on, follow me. So we went out to the car, and he unlocks the car, and he starts handing out jack handles and tire tools and stuff like this. So each one of us goes back in with a jack handle, and back in those days you had those big old flat tire tools and long, strong pieces of steel, spring steel at that. So we went back in, and we walked up to that table of Marines. We said, now, we want to see if we can refresh your memory. Where's our booze? Oh, it was just a joke. It was just a joke. I was sure glad because there was a lot more Marines than there was civilians there. But we didn't have to use the tools or anything else. The Marines apparently decided maybe it was going to be a fight. So they didn't like it any better, I guess, than we did. So we didn't really get in the fight. But, well, he was ready. And we'd have had to fight our way out of there if they hadn't. That was the only time I ever saw my dad drunk. But I saw him one time mad, other than that. He went after my neighbor across the street with a hammer in his hand. He was going to go kill him.
When was that?
In Fairfax. Roy Douglas. I don't remember. He was saying something about my dad. And whatever it was, my dad didn't like it, and it was a lie anyway. So when he came home from work, he walked in the back room and got his hammer out of his chest and started out. Mom asked him where he's going. He said, I'm going to go over and shut Mr. Douglas's mouth. And he did. He went over and shut it.
He hit him with a hammer?
Huh?
He hit him with a hammer?
Well, not too hard. Just enough to shut his mouth.
Oh my gosh.
Gosh.
Must have
And
been a
it
big
stopped
man.
it stopped the talk. But that's the only 2 times I've ever seen him mad enough to, get mean. And other than a few times that he got mean on my butt.
Yeah, I was going to say, what happened with the time that you had the team of horses that got away from you?
Oh, we didn't get in trouble that time.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, we talked fast out of that. That was when we moved to the little farm where the grandpas and the aunts and uncles all lived.
Yeah.
When we first moved out there, we didn't have any water, so we had to go. We had to take a
Is this in
buggy.
Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to take a buggy and go way back. I don't know how many miles, and get water in jugs and cans and everything, haul it by the wagon load to the farm. And this one particular day, and what was bad about it, we had just built a brand new fence around the housing area, brand new barbed wire. And in a way, it's probably a good thing it was brand new barbed wire, because when those horses hit it, it popped like,
The spring just ching.
yeah, just bing, bing, bing. Otherwise, it might have cut the horses. That was what scared me. I thought my horses, or my dad's horses, would be cut in half, so they didn't have a scratch on them.
That's amazing.
Apparently all the wire hit the collars and the harness, and all of that stuff. But anyway, there was Ralph Shaw, myself, and Junior McClure was hauling the stuff. And on the way downhill, the pans and everything started rattling. And the team we had was, we could have gotten a better team, an older team, but we had the spirited little team. And the more they heard that buckets and pans, the more nervous they got, and pretty soon they got out of hand. We was going down over the field, water cans, boys, and everything flying in the air, and that team went straight for home and right through that brand new barbed wire fence.
Okay, who was Junior McClure?
He was an Indian that was with me almost all of my life, all the time I was there. Junior McClure. He was an Indian that was with us all the time.
He was Osage?
Well, he was Osage. He, Otis Kays, at one time was married to Junior's sister, Catherine. Catherine was a blind Indian, and Otis was married to her for a while. But anyway, Junior, he was born and raised, we was raised, born and raised with each other.
Is
Like
he
when-
about your same age?
Huh?
Was he similar to your age?
Yeah. In fact, whatever her name is, Ruby.
Thanks, Eve.
Well,
He didn't mean it.
Ruby went to Oklahoma once, 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah. More than that. About 4.
Well, 3 or 4 years ago, when Dorothy was living in Arrowhead, out of Tulsa. So Dorothy and Rube got in the car and went to Fairfax to try to contact some people. And I told them to go see Junior, but apparently he had got killed a year before that. Well, I don't know whether you remember him or not, but he came to see us once when we lived down
Yeah.
by,
He was a real big guy
yeah.
and real dark, but he had short hair.
Well, I don't remember his hair.
Yeah, I remember him.
But he came, he stopped by and saw us one time.
Yeah,
When we lived down there by the Wittenspur.
yeah.
Yeah, that's him.
Well, so when did he live on a reservation or did he live in
No, he lived in town. No, none of the Indians lived on reservations. When I say none of them, most of them didn't. They all lived in town in houses just like we're living in here.
Did the government pay for that?
Sure.
You used to tell us about when you were a little kid, how you'd run around playing cowboys and Indians.
Yeah,
You always use that.
we used to do that all the time. And it was real cowboys and real Indians.
So what would you do?
I just ride our horses and play just like they do in the movies, chase each other.
Ride real horses.
Huh?
Ride real horses?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know how to play cowboy.
So did you really stay out days at a time sometimes?
Yeah. Well, only one time. And that was a mistake.
Well-
Because then we had a real posse after us.
What happened?
We just decided to go without telling anybody, and we got on some horses and took off. And we forgot to tell anybody we was going. They had all the cops and everybody looking all over for us. And finally, when they did find us, we made sure we didn't do it again.
They emphasized you had messed up.
But we used to have a lot of fun playing cowboy. And finally, like it, now you asked about McClure. He got mad one time. He says, I'm not going to play anymore. He said, I'm tired of being the Indian. He says, they'll all get killed. And I said, well, I can't help it. You are an Indian. So you got to play your part. So we just play cowboy and Indians like kids. Only in our case, like I said, it was real cowboys and real Indians.
How young were you when you learned how to ride?
Probably about like that. Or,
Did you ever ride bareback, or did you always ride with a saddle?
oh no, most of it is bareback. A lot of it bareback, and some of the horses I had didn't even use reins or bridles. Just my knees and mane.
You didn't even.
And if I couldn't do that, I'd reach up and slap her, him or her, side the head or somewhere.
Did the Indians ride like that,
Sure.
even without reins?
Some of them. Most of them had bridles and hacks or halters or something, but well, like I said, there has been a number of times we've ridden without anything. But most of the time we had saddles and bridles and the whole works, but a lot of times we'd ride bareback. We had halter or bridle or something on and ride bareback because it's easier to get on and off.
Yeah, I can imagine. Did Grandpa always have horses?
Huh?
Did Grandpa always have horses?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we always had horses.
What kind?
Well, a little bit of everything. They back in those days never heard of quarter horse or anything like that. They were big old purchase and
Draft horses.
draft horses, and then a few smaller horses. I don't really know the breed of them, but I guess call them Indian ponies. A little bit of everything. I don't know what all they were.
Did you ever have a particular horse that you liked when you were growing up?
No, not that I. Well, I'll take it back. I did have old nigger, and he was an old skinny black horse, and I rode him. I rode him a lot, even in town. I know one time I was running him. I was doing something I shouldn't have. I was running him on pavement, and I turned the corner and he slid, and both of us went down. This, I don't know if you can see it anymore now. Tore the whole bottom side of that, or top of that foot off, and I was really hurt. That old black horse, his hip bone was skinned pretty bad, and his eye, and two or three things. But he wasn't hurt at all compared to me. And I wouldn't let anybody touch me. I wanted to take care of that horse. I wanted that horse taken care of first. And but that was the only one I remember really having. We had a couple of pintos that I favored, but they were. Dad wouldn't let us fool with them much because they had too much life.
Did Grandpa ride?
No. Oh, you know, he might get on one, but he didn't ride around or do anything like that. And that there again, you see the difference between logic and non-logic. Clyde was a lot older than Floyd and I, and he was so stupid. Here we lived on the farms and everything. He didn't even know how to put a damn set of harness on a horse. Floyd and I'd have to go out. We'd have to build up boxes, bales, hays, or boxes or something to get up high enough to throw the harness over the horse. But we could put it up. We got out there one time on the harnesses we had a I don't know what it's called, but it was a tail leather. It's a leather that goes under the tail, and I don't know what it's really for. I don't remember what it's for.
Under the horse's tail?
Probably from
Yeah.
keep the harness from sliding up.
It might have been
Probably,
to
yeah.
keep it from going forward.
Yeah.
But I know one time we went down there and Clyde was supposed to get the team harnessed for something. Floyd and I got down there, and he was trying to fit this on the horse's head some way, and just backwards. And he was the oldest of the Ellsworths.
He didn't care for horses?
He didn't know. He wasn't around them much. He never did. Floyd and I spent a lot of time around horses, either working them or riding them or something. But Clyde never did learn.
How old was Floyd before he got sick, or was he always kind of sickly?
He's always been sick all of his life.
Well, I thought Floyd was pretty much okay, and it was Clarence that got sick.
No,
Well, I mean, Floyd had the club foot, but he didn't have
Well,
any health, did he?
no, he didn't. Well, clubfoot and no education.
Well, I know, but he was never sickly. It was Clarence that had diabetes that was sick all the time.
Was it?
He
Yeah.
was the frail one, yeah.
Yeah, Clarence is the one who died. When he died, I guess every organ in his body stopped functions
About the same
all
time?
at the same time.
Huh.
The University of Denver says they didn't, they couldn't figure out why. It's the first time they'd ever seen that. All of his organs, his heart, his liver, his kidneys, everything quit working at the same time. So I don't know whether Margarita ever found out what really killed him. I never did check into it because she's the one that took care of Barry and Mom, Dad, and Lloyd and Clarence. Because she's the one that Mom trusted everything to, and gave her what money there was. I don't know whether there's a little bit or a lot. I'm sure there wasn't too much, but whatever there was, she got it.
Well, so after you guys came back, you said you were in San Diego,
Yeah.
and then how long were you in San Diego working?
Well, in San Diego, I was there till I went in the Army. I went in the Army, and they drafted me back in the latter part of 42 or early 43.
Not more like Joe.
And then I stayed in the Army until March of 46. And I got a discharge at Fort Douglas and came back out here to Twilla. Because at the time, see, I was married. I married old Muggs when I was in the Army out here at Dugway in 1943.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So you were married from 43 to 46?
You don't know a hell of a lot.
Well,
You
I
know
knew. I didn't. I thought you married her after the war. I didn't know you
it?
married her
No,
before.
I married her during the war.
During the war.
I married her in 43, divorced her in 48. 5 years I was married. But that's why I say when I got discharged in Fort Douglas, so I just came back out here and I laid around for, well, I guess I wanted to lay around 3 months because they gave me 3 months pay. Now I wanted to spend it all. But the Currys started bitching, wanted me to go to work. And so at the time, I was going to go back to California because I was a truck driver in California. I drove truck for Blankenship Motors out of Oakland, but it was there in San Diego. And we hauled all the merchandise for the Montgomery Ward stores.
That was before you went into the Army?
Yeah. So I had that job I could go back to. But I listened to the Currys, so I went out here, told them I wanted a job. And we went round and round. And they said, well, we haven't got anything. I was going to try to get a fireman's job because I qualified for any fireman's job out there, including the chiefs. And so they didn't. They were working angles there. Most of the fire department was non-veterans, and so they tried their damnedest to keep me out of the fire department. And so finally, they didn't have a job, so I went back down to headquarters and told them, I said, I got to have a job. Well, what can you do? And I thought I can do anything. So they sent me, they did find a little bit of, see, they didn't tell us they don't tell you everything when you fill out papers to get a job with the government. They don't tell you to fill out everything. They just fill out certain things. So I had the other qualifications, but all I was after was that one job, so that's all I wrote down. So anyway, I got over to, I said, well, I can do mechanical work. I didn't know anything about it, but I told him I was a mechanic when my dad owned the garage and service station in Colorado, Montrose. But we never worked on anything. We put gas in the car, but that was it. But I made him think I was a mechanic. And anyway, we got down there. I had walked through 619 all the way through it before I went up to talk to the shop superintendent.
What's 619?
It was the big maintenance building.
So that's where the mechanic work got done.
That's where the mechanic work got done. And in fact, now today is where they've got that big
diesel plant.
100 million or whatever it is down there
That truck thing.
that didn't get off the.
The CML.
Anyway, yeah. So I went up, was interviewed by the shop superintendent, and he said, well, Mr. Ellsworth, he says, I just don't have any work for you. And he says, is there anything else you can do? I said, Mr. Bringhurst, I've been through your shop, and there isn't a job in here, in this shop, that I can't do in 30 days, including yours. And that kind of made him a little mad. So he called up Sparky Porter and Bev Brown, and we went through it again. So he told Sparky Porter, he says, take him down and put him to work. And if he looks like in 30 days that it's possible he could take my job, fire him. But if he's just good enough to keep him on payroll. So at the end of 30 days, we went back up. And he asked him, he said, okay, let's be truthful. Do we fire him or hire him? And both the foremen says, you fire him, we quit. And so I've been there ever since.
So you did mechanical work?
I went to work as a grade 8 mechanic helper. And then about 2 months later, I was a grade 10
What's the department?
mechanic. And then a few months later, I was a grade 15 master mechanic. And then when I got that, I decided they got the opening back in the fire department, so I went back to the fire department.
Well, then, when did you get into data processing?
Well, after I went to the fire department, in 1950, they called me back to Korea. So they fired me from the fire department. In fact, they fired me from the depot to go in and take an examination, Fort Douglas. I passed the examination. I was back in the United States Army. But on October the 14th, my birthday, 1950, I was on orders to ship out, but apparently I didn't ship out. I don't know where I went. I don't know what happened. I finally called Fort Douglas and I said, hey, what are you doing? He said, I don't know. He says, I've looked it up, and he says, they jerked you and one other sergeant. There were 2 of you. They jerked you off of the shipping orders, and he said, I can't find what they've done. So I said, well, I'm going back to work. I can't live on nothing. So I said, I'm going back to work at the depot. If you ever find out, call me. Never did hear from him again.
You're kidding.
So after I die, you guys, what you should do is check. You might be able to draw a lot of back pay, dead, missing in action, or something in Korea.
Oh my gosh.
But I still don't know what happened. Never did find out. They never did come back and get me. So
You could be AWOL too. So.
no, because I've got other discharges, so that I did go in and out.
Okay, so then you went back to the depot and worked at the fire department?
Well, when I went back to go to the fire department, they had another guy in my place, a guy by the name of Jack Gowns. So Mrs. Clark says, hey, Cecil, do me a favor. She said, let me put you in maintenance for 30 days. And till I can find a place to put Jack, so you can get your old job back. She said, you won't lose any money because you're qualified for grade 15. But she said, I'll put you down there as a grade 10. That'll give you the same pay. And it'll only be for 30 days. So I said, okay. So I got down there, and they were just starting a new division. Herbie Muse, Major Tyner, and some of the others were just starting a new secondary item division. He was going to build a new rebuild shop down in building 637. And that was all powertrain, engines, well, everything but the body work. Everything was done right there in that shop. Engines, transmissions, transfers, carburetors, starting motors, all of it, everything. And so they made me promises. They kept telling me, Tyner and Muse told me, said, no, don't go back. Don't go back to the fire department. We'll give you a grade 19 down here. I said, I don't like promises. But so, pretty soon, I said, the hell with it. So I went back, I accepted the job back to the fire department. And just as I was transferring back up there, Herbie and them got the 19 through. So I quit that, come back, and went back to maintenance. So I quit 3 times in the same day, changed jobs 3 times the same day. But I did go and stay in maintenance. And then as I went along in maintenance, I just gradually worked up. I went from grade 12 master mechanic to a grade 14, and then they, at one time I was at 15, but they changed the grades, lowered it down, and then I got up to the 19, and from the 19 I went to the GS9 and got out of maintenance into staff work, and I stayed GS9 until I got up in data systems. And we had the boss of California, Benicia. When he came in, he took over, he bumped my boss, Tull, and he took over DSO. And DSO was the main office over ammunition, maintenance, and supply. We were the office over all 3 of those divisions. And I was a staff man, one of, I think, 9 staff people. And all we did as staff, we went down through the different divisions and looked for any bottlenecks, any trouble, any backlogs, whatever. Keep production moving. So when this joker, I forget his name, when he came in, he didn't want to staff, so he fired us all. He abolished all the jobs. So that left me setting up in stock control. They put me up in stock control as a supervisor, and while they found me a job. So pretty soon I got an offer. It was a promise of a GS-12 in maintenance, chief of engineering, and how I was going to qualify for this, I don't know, but I did. But the other one there was get it straight across the board, 9 to a 9, and go in data systems. And I told Les, I said, I can't do it. Because my idea of data systems was all smart people, graduates, college graduates, and all this kind of stuff. I found out later that being a graduate, college graduate, don't necessarily make a smart person. But anyway, I said I can't do it. I don't have the education to work in a field like this. So he said, well, let's do this. There's a test. I can get you a test in personnel. And he says, if you can pass that, you can do anything in here that any of these college people can do. Because he said, I can show you many, many college people that can't pass that test. So he set me up an appointment. I went up, took me, I think it's 3.5 hour test or something. After I got back down there, about a half hour later, he called me in and says, you're hired. I said, oh, what was he talking about? I didn't think he even had time to get the answer back yet. But sure enough, I'd passed it higher than most people. And all it was really is a logic test. And what I didn't know, I figured out and guessed at and got 99% of them. But anyway, I thought, well, data systems was kind of interesting anyway. I thought, well, if I can do it, I'd like to stay with that rather than maintenance. And maintenance was only a promise. And I knew maintenance. Oh, and to add insult to injury, the maintenance job. The little bosses wanted me. But the big boss was a guy by the name of Kunze. He was also from Benicia. And he didn't like me because I got on his case a few times over there when I was just staff. I'd go over and I'd tell Kunze, hey, you can't do this. Yeah, staff people don't tell me what to do. And he's right, I couldn't tell him. So what I'd do, I'd go back, write a DF, make it a directive, take it in and says, Tull, Mr. Tull, sign this. He won't do it. So I signed it. We send it over, and Kunze gets it done. So when it got down to hiring me, all the bosses were kind of hiding my name on the list of all the eligible people. And they put me way down there in the middle. And apparently, because they wanted to kind of break my name in easy, they wanted me, but they didn't know how he'd act. So when he saw the list, as soon as he got down to my name, he says, is he available? And they said, yes, but we didn't know. Well, he said, if he's available, forget the rest of them, hire him. He said, if he's on my team, I want him. He says, what I didn't want is him in my shop when he's up in staff. Because he says he knows how to do things that a lot of these other people don't. But I still went back to data systems. And then I think I made the right choice because I enjoyed data systems.
Well, it was a good mental challenge for you.
Huh?
It was a good mental challenge for you.
Oh, yeah. And once you start writing programs, once you get started, boy, you really get into it because then you live it day and night until it's done. Then you can see your finished product. And it was really a challenge. I liked it. And then I got a lot of traveling. I went to California one time for 3 weeks. Got back 2 years later.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah. And then I'd go to Letterkenny and did a lot of traveling, writing programs. It was a challenge. I liked it.
Well, so what year did you go into data processing?
I know it's somewhere
In the early 60s?
In the 60, 61, 62,
Yeah.
somewhere in that area.
Yeah, because by 67 or 68, we went to California.
We went to California when I was
No, that was 67,
probably
68.
4.
That was our divorce years.
Yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't. It was
68.
So
way
it was before
then.
that.
Yeah,
It had to
I
be
was
in
I was in
64,
California
65.
64 to 66.
Yeah.
So we went, you guys came to California either in 64 or 65, probably 65.
well then you started data processing in the 60s, like in 60 or 61 then.
Yeah, because we started taking over the depots, Benicia and Mount Rainier and all these, Umatilla and all those, in the 60s, early 60s. So it had to be somewhere in 61, 62, somewhere in there, that I started with data systems. And then in 64, I went to Sacramento, supposedly for 3 weeks, and
Yeah.
wound up 2 years. I got out of there in February.
What were you doing there?
Writing programs,
Programs.
a complete system for the Army.
So you went in to do 3 weeks worth of TDY, and they kept you.
They had us from all over. They had us in Anderson, Alabama, Red River, Texas, Letterkenny, Pennsylvania, Sacramento, California. Had them all over the country, programmers. And we sitting right there in on what was the base? Sacramento Army Depot? Sacramento Army Depot, I guess. And then we sat right there and all of us worked there and wrote an entire system. What it was at the time, it was called the SpeedX system.
I remember that, SpeedX.
Yeah,
Yeah, hell,
SpeedX
you worked on
system.
that for years.
because that's when her husband, just to show you how some of these idiots worked. Her husband was I guess Rick was only a 7 when he went
Yeah.
there, but I think he was a 9 when he was assigned all those idiots under him.
When yeah.
When I say idiots, they were just 11s, 12s, 13s, and a 14.
And they put Rick over him.
And they put a GS9 over them. And those people were letting this GS9 tell them what to do.
Everybody hated him.
And boy,
Boy, he was just a much better manager than the rest
he
of
knew
them.
well. He was smart. He wasn't an idiot. He was a smart boy. And here, I got something, Rube. And
You want some ice cream, Liz?
2 or 3 times we'd get in a fight. Some of these GS12s and 13s try to tell us what to do, and boy, we'd bow our neck. And their boss used to be at Pueblo, and we used to work all together all the time. So he knew, I forget his name now, but he knew that we knew what we were talking about.
Well, wasn't it? Aldous was the head of the group, right?
Al Liss was here. He was the boss here.
Well, that's what I mean. Here he was Rick's boss and your
Yeah.
boss, right? Because then when you guys did the Letterkenny stuff, that was still SpeedX design too, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, Letterkenny was SpeedX also.
Letterkenny was research and
It
development.
was the advanced,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of oak and I don't know what all kind of trees, a lot of oak trees in there. Well, it was farm country, it's all it was, farm country. Farm and oil. But I don't know, some of the stuff that I did back in those days, it's hard to believe that I was only that old.
Well, like you said, you covered a lot of ground.
Well, I sure did.
Well, are we keeping you up? It's almost 10.
Yeah, I'd take mine to Ehlers at 10.
I gotta look this up on a map.
No, but when I heard about that deal Maria getting that award from the president the other day, I listened to it and watched it. So then I thought, well, I'm going to call Jerry just to see. And that would give me a talking point,
Yeah.
Marie. And the operator tells me that the phone has been disconnected. And so I didn't know the Beatrice or Bernice or whatever it was, Beatrice I think, and some other George. I don't know who they might be somebody's kids. They could be Jerry's kids or John's kids. I don't know who they are.
Well, you got any other questions to capture for posterity?
I think we've covered quite a lot. We just know that we'll.
Is there anything you would like to tell your great-great-grandchildren
Oh
that
wow.
we should preserve on for posterity here, just in case you don't make it another 100 years?
Bet your butt on that. Be lucky to make it another 100 days. I don't know what I'd tell them. Anything I'd say would be negative, so I won't say it.
You could say you loved me the best.
That's what?
You loved me the best.
You, the best? Then my granddaughter get mad at me.
Okay, say you love both of us. So then say you love both of us the best. I'll share with her. Yeah, you're right, she would. Well, you could go generationally. You know, I'm the favorite one in this generation, and you can go from there. I could live with that. That'd be okay.
Now, who was first, her or Kabam?
Do what?
Who was first, her or Kabam? I can't remember.
You're a jerk.
Kabam.
A second.
Kabam was the second. She wasn't until the ninth.
Kabam.
The horse. We could never remember my birthday because it
Oh,
was
I
either
can
mine or
remember
the
it.
horse.
But I didn't let you know that.
Let's see, are you a horse or are you a kid? It was the best horse and the best kid. That was it. It was a very good week.
Well, it was a pretty good horse.
It was a good horse. That's exactly right. You know, got all those good vibes going at once.
No, I had a colt born on the 2nd, and then she was born on the 9th.
That was a good colt.
And I used to get her a birthday. I'd send her a card or get her something on the 2nd, and talk about the horse on the 9th. And she'd get mad at hell. A lot of times I'd even when she's in St. Louis, I'd send her a card so I'd get there on the 2nd, just to bug her.
It worked. I always thought you remembered.
I did remember. But really the best horse out of our colts, I think, I wouldn't have picked Kabam. I would have picked Coco. I like Coco better. But, well, until
Until you gelded
he
him.
went docile and
Was Coco one of hers?
huh?
Yeah.
One of Flicka's?
Yeah.
Sure.
I never
It was her
realized
second
that.
Oh, he was
He was
there's-
beautiful until they gelded him, and then he was
a
sickly.
beautiful thing. Till I got him cut, and he went docile and become cribber, and God put in. All he had was gums. He had no teeth left at all. I put belts on him. I put everything on him, and I creosoted the timber.
Everything.
Shit, I think he just thought that was topping whipped cream or something.
Spiced it up for him.
I'll never forget that horse. We
Coco.
would, yeah. All my efforts to saddle him, I'd have to climb the fence, one rung at a time, trying to get the saddle up to the top, get him over to the side, get him to hold still long enough for me to try and flop the saddle over on him. I'd be able to. It'd take me about an hour to get him saddled because I was all of 5 or 6, I think. And then by the time I got him saddled, I would ride over to the bit and spur. I'd go around the track about twice, and then he'd decide he wanted to go home. And so he would take off, just start running.
Is that weird?
And I would pull the reins in just lock his chin right against his chest, and I would tie a big knot with those reins right on the top of the saddle horn, and I would just pull my
Are
knees
you
in.
sure that what horse is that?
It's Coco.
You sure it's Coke? You sure it wasn't that little nigger horse?
No, that was Coco. And then he would try and scrape me off on every pole he went by.
No.
And I would suck
I
my
think-
legs
That
in.
was a
I
black
think you
horse.
got the wrong
No,
one.
he was red, wasn't he?
Yeah.
With a white face. That was
Yeah.
Coco.
That was Coco,
That
but
was
I don't
Coco.
remember him ever doing that.
Well,
That nigger horse did.
he did that to me all the time. Or I just at least have a couple vivid memories of him
I know
trying
one
to
time
get me off his
I
back.
went out there when I first decided I was going to try to break him. I was going to go out there and I got a blanket and I went out and put a halter on him. Or really, I think it was a hack. I put a hack on him, I think. But then I got my blanket and I was out there playing with him, throwing the blanket on him and bringing it off and on. And pretty soon I had the saddle out there and my neighbor, old Chris Whalen,
I think I remember that.
he asked me, he said, "What are you doing, Cease?" I said, "Well, I think it's about time I break this colt or start breaking it so we can start riding it." Well, he said, "Shit, all you got to do is get on it." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Hell, Barry rides him everywhere." I didn't know you did, but Barry'd been riding him everywhere. Barry'd get on him with no bridle, no nothing. He'd just get on him, ride him around. So I got on, I threw the pad on, crawled on him, he just walked off. And shit, there I was going to break him.
Barry Dell already done it for you.
Kids. Well, I'm gonna turn this off.